From marketing your business to growing an audience to making extra income online, there are tons of great reasons to start a blog. Welcome back to Learn with Shopify. I'm your host, Tyler, and today we're going to learn how to start a blog. As the co-founder of a lifestyle blog that served a monthly audience of 2.5 million visitors and the former head of content for a media company that serves 16 million people, I know exactly how to start and scale a blog. I'm really excited to share some pro tips today to set your blog up for success. So strap in, we're about to get started. If you're just looking to have some fun by sharing knowledge or expressing yourself, then starting a blog is really as easy as picking a platform and starting. But if you want to make money from your blog, then you need to be a bit more strategic. And that's exactly who this video is for. People who are looking to create a blog to drive customers to an existing business or create a blog that will become a business in itself. So we're going to take you step by step from monetization strategy to publishing. This might sound counterintuitive, but if you're looking to make money from your content, it's advised that you start with the money part and not with the content part. And that's because your monetization strategy will ultimately affect how you grow and what types of content you create. So to begin, we need to think less like artists and more like entrepreneurs. When it comes to monetizing a blog, for some reason, advertising and brand-sponsored content are often the first things people think of. And while these can be lucrative ways to make money from your blog, they don't typically become economically viable unless you have a good amount of traffic. Thankfully, there are tons of other ways that a new blogger can monetize faster without the need for a massive audience. So here they are. Selling a book. James Clear is an amazing example of someone who's done this. James was writing a personal development blog when he decided to write a book called Atomic Habit. It was based off of the years of knowledge that he garnered while writing his blog. Then he decided to sell this book in physical and digital formats. Not only did this make his blog economically viable, but it landed him on the New York Times bestsellers list. Affiliate marketing. This is a form of monetization where you gain a commission every time you sell a partner's product. When executed correctly, this can really add up and be a great way to create passive income. Services. If you're an aspiring blogger, chances are you're already an expert in a given area and have a way with words. Services like consulting, coaching, and speaking at events are great ways to generate income. Digital products. For example, online courses can be a really natural way for bloggers to monetize. Bloggers are already expert content creators, so creating a course allows them to capitalize on knowledge that they already have. Just take a look at copy hackers for a blog that already made the jump. Physical products. Products that align with a blog's mission and message are a great way to monetize. A legendary example of this is Glossier. Glossier is a makeup brand that grew out of the success Emily Weiss found in her fashion blog Into the Gloss. Since then, Glossier has grown into a household name and is an absolute titan in the world of direct-to-consumer brands. Subscriptions. Patreon isn't only for YouTubers. When people find a lot of value in the information you provide, some will be willing to pay a monthly fee to access exclusive content, making subscriptions a really great way to monetize a blog. The last cornerstone of your monetization strategy, and this one is really crucial, is smashing that like button and subscribing to our channel. Every week, we're releasing videos that empower online entrepreneurs to grow their businesses with confidence. So subscribe now because you don't want to miss it. In the age of information, we are constantly inundated with content. The sheer amount of information available leaves a lot of would-be bloggers to question how they can stand out. When the entire digital universe feels like it's already been charted, how can you find new territory? While the internet is far from oversaturated and there are countless audiences that are underserved. The key to creating a blog that stands out and has a better chance of succeeding is by picking a niche. By narrowing a focus, you can significantly reduce and sometimes outright eliminate competition. When choosing a niche, you want to choose something that is an inch wide but a mile deep. What I mean by this is you want to pick something that has a narrow enough focus that you can carve out a market, but it needs to be deep enough that you can continuously create content without running out of ideas. You'll also need to ensure that your chosen niche creates an audience that aligns with your monetization strategy. Ask yourself, what sorts of products and services would this audience buy? Whether you're using advertising or any of the monetization strategies we talked about earlier, make sure to ask yourself this crucial question. The last thing that you want to do when picking a niche is conduct a competitor analysis. Use tools like BuzzSumo and Ahrefs to get a bearing on how content does in the space. This is also a great way to build topic ideas for content of your own. Don't skip this competitor analysis step. Beyond making a data-driven decision, this will help you get an idea of how you can make your brand and your voice feel unique in this space. Look for a gap in perspective and fill it. Now that you know your niche, it's time to build your new blog. When choosing your blogging platform, it's important not to make this decision hastily, as it will be a bit of a commitment. While pricing is an obvious factor, it shouldn't be the guiding principle, especially if you're looking to make money from your blog down the road. From Shopify to Wix to Squarespace to WordPress to Blogger, there are so many options, it's really easy to get overwhelmed. First, you'll need to choose between a hosted and a self-hosted platform. A hosted platform will allow you to get up your blog faster and easier. Shopify, for example, includes hosting in all of its plans. Some hosted platforms, though, like Blogger, will limit your customization options. Then there's self-hosted. A self-hosted platform like WordPress.org will give you the full range of customization options. However, with increased options comes increased complexity. You'll also have to pay a monthly fee for hosting. Self-hosted sites are great for blogs that have larger followings and are looking for increased control. As a side note, don't confuse WordPress.org, which is self-hosted, with WordPress.com, which is hosted. When choosing a platform, you'll want to make sure that you pick one that's easy to use, doesn't require any coding skills, and will be able to grow with you. During your blogging journey, there's probably going to come a time where you want to change the look, feel, and functionality of your site as your brand matures, your traffic grows, and you have more posts to organize. When choosing a platform, you'll want to make sure that you choose one that has a healthy ecosystem of apps and plugins. These can make a world of difference in automating and simplifying tasks and improving your site's performance. Now I know what you're thinking. What about Medium? Well, Medium won't actually let you monetize through advertising, so if you're looking to turn your blog into a business, it's not the best platform for you. Also, Medium owns all of your traffic, so if you're looking to transfer later, you won't be able to take your users with you. So while I wouldn't suggest Medium as your primary blogging platform, it can be used for strategic distribution purposes like republishing articles. We'll talk a little bit about that later. Next up is picking a theme and name. After you've picked your platform, it's time to pick a look and name. Picking a domain name is a really important step in the journey, as it's going to be the thing that people recognize first and is a bit of a long-term commitment. When picking a name, make sure to take these 4 things into account. Make it memorable. Make it fun to say. Make it easy to spell. And make sure it isn't taken by another brand. When picking a name, it's important to choose something that evokes the spirit of the brand. Here are some naming conventions used by popular websites to help get those wheels turning and get you started. You can combine 2 words into a single compound word, like Facebook. You can use a single word that evokes a feeling or an image, like complex or Amazon. Or you can use a unique suffix at the end of an already existing word, like Shopify. Choosing a domain name can be tedious, but it's also a crucial process. We wouldn't advise that you use your own name unless you're trying to build a personal brand or a portfolio site. And that's because it's often easier to build a brand if you choose a domain name that reflects your brand's identity. This will also make it easier to seamlessly integrate other writers later in your blogging journey if you ever decide to scale. Once you've chosen your domain name, it's time to pick a theme. A theme is a pre-designed layout that allows you to create a professional-looking blog without touching a line of code. Make sure you look into your theme options before committing to a platform. This usually calls for a one-time fee, but some platforms like Shopify will offer beautiful free themes for those just starting out with the option to upgrade later. The design of your site can have a massive impact on your SEO, user experience, and the way that users interact with your content. Nearly everyone makes a snap judgment about the trustworthiness of a site based on how it looks and feels. Most of us have landed on a poorly designed web page, had trouble finding what we were looking for, and left because we felt frustrated. Take some time when picking your theme. It can make a massive difference in how your blog performs. When it comes to distribution, most bloggers only think about it after they've already created and published content. The truth is, this can result in a lot of unnecessary misfires and leave a lot of opportunity on the table. What you really want to do is start thinking about distribution before you even launch. The first thing that you need to take into consideration when crafting your distribution strategy is search engine optimization, also known as SEO. And that's because traffic from search is a bit more predictable than from other sources. Unlike social media, where content is served to audiences passively, with search it's active, meaning users must make a definite decision as to what they're looking for. This is why traffic that comes from SEO is often of higher quality and results in a higher return on investment. To take advantage of the opportunities of SEO, you'll need to utilize keyword research in your content strategy. There are tons of best practices on SEO, and I'm going to be making another video that does a deep dive on this topic. So make sure to subscribe so that you don't miss it. For now though, here's the simplest possible explanation. The higher the search volume, the more demand there is for a topic. And the more demand, the more potential traffic you can gain. What you're really looking for is high search volume but low competition. This means you have a better chance of ranking for a topic. And the higher you rank, the more traffic you are likely to receive. The next thing that you'll want to incorporate into your distribution strategy is social media. And while it may be tempting to try and distribute on every social media channel under the sun, this can quickly become a recipe for burnout and watered down results. Go deep, not wide. Focus your energy on the channels where your audience is most likely to be spending its time. As every blog is different, I can't tell you which social media channel is going to give you the most free engagement. I can tell you the best way to find out is to test social channels until you unlock the one that works best for your content. Make sure to give each channel a fair amount of time to gain traction before you zoom in. Social media platforms are great places to release micro content that repackages and repurposes content that already exists on your site. By leveraging formats like videos, infographics, carousels, and memes, you can create content that feels really native to that social platform to drive up engagement. When possible, make sure you provide a link back to the original blog post so that you can drive traffic back to your site. We briefly touched on this before, but regularly republishing your content to platforms like LinkedIn, Medium, and Tumblr is a great way to build additional awareness for your blog and reach the built-in audiences these platforms have. And the beauty is that your post doesn't need to be unique to these platforms. Just make sure to include a link back to the original blog post. Here are some other pro tips for distribution. Try and create relationships with other related but not competing blogs where you can share each other's content on social media. Make sure to only approach blogs where the relationship is obviously going to be mutually beneficial. Leverage Facebook groups and subreddits to reach highly targeted audiences. Make sure to become an engaged member of these communities before you share your own content. This will help you avoid the perception that you're just shamelessly self-promoting. Capture emails early and often. Every reader is a potential email subscriber, and every email subscriber is a potential return visitor. To optimize this, include an email opt-in pop-up on every blog post. Create roundups of past posts. Creating roundups like ultimate guides and best ofs can be really great ways to help people find your old posts. They can also really benefit your SEO. Update old content. Search engines like Google will actually reward blogs for making their content richer over time. As a best practice, only add to and refrain from deleting old content unless you're correcting a mistake. Guest posts. Let's face it, you're always going to need more content, and guest posts are a really great way to build a bridge to another audience. By writing guest posts, you can also build backlinks and thought leadership, which can really contribute to increasing traffic over time. Become a guest on a podcast. This can be a great way to reach audiences that are hungry for knowledge and inspiration. Now that we've discussed site building, branding, and distribution, it's time to talk about what inspired you to create a blog in the first place: content. When creating your content strategy, it's really important that you begin by creating what are known as content pillars. Some people call them content buckets. If this were a newspaper, content pillars would be similar to the sections that they cover regularly. For a fitness blog, examples of content pillars would be nutrition, fitness, motivational stories, and supplement reviews. Content pillars do a lot more than just help you organize content. They also make ideation and crafting tailored content for specific people a lot easier. After completing that, what you'll want to create is an audience persona. An audience persona is basically a sketch of your ideal reader, and it's going to answer questions like, what is their lifestyle? What are their passions, fears, problems, desires? What brands do they like? What networks are they a part of? And what will speak to them? As blog owners, we're really interested in how people think and how they behave. And that's why psychographics are a little bit more helpful than demographics. Of course, we do want to know approximate age ranges and geographic locations of our audience, but we need to dig deeper than that. We need to find out, how do they think? How do they act? And how do they feel? Ultimately, these will be a lot more helpful in crafting effective content and helping us monetize our traffic later. Once an audience persona is created, it's a really good idea to write out a mission statement. Writing out a mission and principles can really help to codify the why of the blog. And ultimately, it's the why that's going to motivate you to keep creating consistently. This is a step we really don't recommend skipping. Mission statements can also be featured in the About Us section of your blog, and they can be a great way to communicate shared values with your audience. When executed correctly, this can turn viewers into superfans. Also, it can be a great way to align creativity should you choose to bring on other creators in the future. Once you've created the foundational themes of your content, the next important step is breaking down the balance of content types. This will really help you when you go to fill out your content calendar. Here are the most popular content types. Evergreen content. This is the type of content that never dies, and it often answers common questions that people have. At its heart, evergreen content is educational. Then there's topical content. This is the type of content that capitalizes on a currently trending event or topic, and when executed correctly, it can drive a lot of traffic from social. However, you don't want to make this the cornerstone of your strategy, or you'll be what blogger Andrew Sullivan calls feeding the beast. And that's because virality is unpredictable, so don't lean on it for traffic. Next, we have curated content, and this is a really great way to augment your original content strategy. The internet is a big place, and readers really appreciate thoughtfully curated content that aligns with their values and interests. And then there's feature pieces. Interviews can be a great way to build rich content in an editorial style. At their heart, feature stories are storytelling and should take you into the minds and lives of extraordinary people. Interviews with notable people can also be a great way to build authority, as you do gain some credibility simply by association. Then there's visual content, and this is something that all bloggers should definitely be incorporating in their strategy. The search gods heavily reward blog posts that incorporate original images, video, and graphics. And finally, interactive content. Quizzes can be a great way to increase engagement, like time on page, and also unearth deeper insights about your audience. One thing that's important to remember is that quality and consistency beat quantity and speed when it comes to blog posts. Because Google penalizes duplicate content, but rewards long-form content, it's better to take your time to create something that you're truly happy with. That being said, you need to maintain a consistent schedule and not succumb to the trap of perfectionism. So pick a monthly or weekly blog post schedule that's manageable, and then stick to it. For some reason, the myth that creative people are unorganized by nature continues to prevail. But in content production, the opposite is actually true. Disorganization hurts creativity. And that's because when you're organized, you unburden your mind from worry and allow yourself to focus on the act of creating. When beginning content production, it's incredibly important to create a content calendar. In your content calendar, you should include what content you're creating and when, what audiences you're creating it for, when you're releasing it, and what distribution channels you're releasing it on. You can make a simple spreadsheet to create your content calendar, but there are more effective tools available. I personally like Asana, Trello, or Airtable because they make organizing content really intuitive. Before writing your post, it's recommended that you write an outline. And while this is a step that some bloggers might opt to skip, it's a really effective way of making sure you hit every point you need to. It also helps ensure that you include any relevant keywords and helps liberate your mind from the destination so you can focus fully on the journey. When you've finished writing your blog post, before hitting publish, here are some things you should do. Edit your work. While coming back with fresh eyes and using a tool like Grammarly can really help you catch syntax and grammar errors, having a human editor to bounce ideas off of can really take your blog post to the next level. Ensure you've organized the information under a hierarchy of headings. Headings really help scannability. They make the piece feel approachable, and Google loves them. Workshop headlines and social sharing images. Images and headlines can really make or break your distribution, so take your time to make a headline and image that stand out on a social feed and inspire curiosity. Finally, you're ready to hit publish. Now let's talk about understanding your audience. Once you've hit the publish button, your work isn't done. Now it's time to dive into the data, understand where we can improve, and learn what opportunities are untapped. That's why it's so crucial to take the time to set up your Google Analytics. Not only is it free, but it gives you really deep insights into your audience, like what content is resonating with them, the quality of readers coming from different platforms, and also how many people are on your blog right now. Take time to study these analytics and do more of what's working and less of what isn't. Something that's also recommended is installing a heat map on your site. Heat maps, like the ones you can easily install with apps and plugins like Clicktail and Crazy Egg, allow you to see exactly how far people are getting in your content before they depart. This can be really actionable data that shows you exactly what parts of your blog posts need to be improved. One final piece of advice is that so many bloggers make the mistake of assuming they know what their audience wants instead of simply asking. Comments on social posts, surveys, and simply posing a question to your audience can be powerful ways of unearthing massive content opportunities. That's why I want you to leave a comment below with any online business topics you need guidance with, so that I can cover them in a future video. Hopefully this video has given you everything you need to begin your blogging journey. And while starting a blog can feel daunting, really the hardest part is sitting down and getting started. Once you launch, leave a link to your blog below because I would absolutely love to check it out. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss any powerful tips on how to grow your online business. Remember, we're a channel for small business owners with big plans. We'll see you next time on Learn with Shopify.